He's a dishonest guy. He was down 30 points, and he came to me. He crawled. He crawled to me. With tears in his eyes, he crawled. He said, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, could you please endorse me? And I looked down on him, and I mean way down, because I'm a tall guy, a lot taller than him. He's wearing high heels. Look into it, Google it. And I said, Rob. And he said, that's not my name. My name is Ron. And I said, okay, Ron, I'll endorse you. And then he won. And he won with numbers they've never seen, but now he's running against me.
Okay, so as you guys have seen, I usually like to start my videos on a lighter note. I put some funny skit or little clip or something at the beginning of the video. But we're going to shift to something a little bit more serious. And I say a little bit because it could have been a lot worse than what it was. Ron DeSantis was in a car accident today. So let's get into this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was involved in a car accident Tuesday morning with his campaign confirmed by NPR. DeSantis, who is a Republican candidate in the 2024 presidential election, was traveling to an event in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He and his team are uninjured, a campaign spokesperson said. We appreciate the prayers and well wishes of the nation for his continued protection while on a campaign trail, his team said. According to the Associated Press, a female staffer had minor injuries but was able to attend the event where she was treated later that morning. The crash happened with traffic slowed down at about 8:15 a.m., causing a 4-car crash. So it appears that everybody's okay, everybody's good to go, except for that staffer. She had some minor injuries, but we're wishing her well. Thank God that it wasn't worse. So now let's get to the meat, the main event of this video. And that's Ron DeSantis' campaign. So it's super early. It's early as hell. The first Republican primary debate isn't until next month. And the first elections for the Republican primary isn't until January. So it is super early. But there's a lot of noise out there right now. People are saying Ron DeSantis has dropped out. He's panicking. People are being fired. The leftist media is pouncing. And this is because Ron DeSantis is having trouble breaking out in these polls. Because remember, he's going against a juggernaut. He's going against an abnormal type candidate. He's going against Trump. He's going against MAGAville. He's going against the Fever and the Fanatics. All those guys who are super loyal to Trump. So he's just trying to make grounds. He's trying to suck up some of the support. But at the same time, he's trying to suck support from some of those never-Trumpers and some independents. So let's take a look at a couple of these polls. So the morning consult, as you can see, it goes back to December. So Trump announced that he was running in November. Ron DeSantis didn't make it official, even though there was months-long speculation. He didn't make it official until several months later in May, about 6 months after Trump did. But as you can see in these polls, they were pretty tight. Ron never was super close to overtaking Trump. But if you look at January, Ron closed in on it pretty good, and Trump was getting a little worried, and he's still worried, honestly. That's why he started attacking DeSantis, and people saying, Trump, you're terrible, you're immature, this is bad, you're dividing the party, all of that noise. But Trump knows what he needs to do. Trump does Trump. He ignores all the noise, all these people who are trying to tell him what to do. He ignores it, and he does what he does. And for the most part, it works out for him. So Trump kept with the attack. And Ron DeSantis, at first, he was just trying to downplay it. And the polls, they remain a little tight. And, man, and the gap just opened. And right now, there's a massive lead. Trump's up by 30 points. Even if you look at other polls, let's look at 538. Look at that gap. So earlier this year, DeSantis was gaining a little ground. He closed in. Even according to 538, he got within 10 points. But the last couple of months, that gap is open and it's a landslide. A couple of things that happened since then that have caused that. Ron DeSantis had a very powerful message. He looked like a really strong candidate. But these people who love Trump, they're just not going to leave Trump for Ron DeSantis. They have many similar ideas and they have a few differences. And in some ways, Ron DeSantis is more right. He goes farther to the right than Trump does, but it just hasn't been enough to close that gap. And some people accuse him of being a Trump wannabe or Trump 2.0 or whatever, but if you have the option, most people are going to take the original than a carbon copy. So looking at these polls, it's caused Ron DeSantis and his campaign to go into panic mode. So now Ron DeSantis, he's meeting with donors, he's meeting with political elites, he's having meetings with his advisors. They're trying to figure out some type of strategy, some type of plan. Like, what can I do to gain some type of ground? Because right now things are looking like he's cratering. But I have to go back and say it again. We haven't had a single debate. It's early as hell. So we'll see what happens. But he's right to question how things are going because Vivek Ramaswamy is gaining ground on him. I've seen some polls online, just some random surveys, and they're saying, who would you take? And a lot of people are taking Vivek over DeSantis. DeSantis thought he just had to worry about Trump and had to claw at Trump. Now he has to look behind him and he has to push back on Vivek because he's gaining ground on him. In DeSantis, he's had a few problems in his campaign. He had that one hiccup where allegedly a super PAC launched this video that showed him to be very anti-LGBT. Seems like he was making fun of Trump for a couple of years ago. Trump was saying, yeah, I support the LGBT community. And DeSantis was called a homophobe for this. He was dogged by both sides, the right and the left. He was dogged for putting this video out. And his campaign was saying, well, it wasn't us. But now word is coming out saying, yeah, his campaign did create that video, but they just had the super PAC launch it because they wanted to see how it made them look. And now they're trying to backtrack from their position. And also, it was yesterday, maybe earlier today, someone from his campaign, one of his staffers, retweeted a clip with Nazi imaging in it. And they fired him immediately and denounced it. But these are just a couple of examples of some of the stuff going on in his campaign. One of the main problems that I have with it is the spending, because you have all these mega donors, you have all these big money neocons, all these never Trumpers who have all this money and they're dumping it. They immediately dump millions and millions of dollars on DeSantis, tens of millions of dollars. And he used a lot of this money on BS. He's been riding around in a luxurious private jet, going to these retreats. Hotels are extremely expensive, hosting these big dinners. And I'm like, Ron, what the hell are you doing? Because if you want to gain the votes, if you want to gain the support of the everyday man, you can't look like a typical Washington, D.C. neocon who's running money and who's enriching himself off of the backs of the everyday worker. So we'll see. He's right now he's saying he's going to be lean. They're going to spend less. They're going to be more efficient on how they do things. And yeah, he needs to do that because it's a bad look. And that's one of his biggest flaws. Who are these donors? Where is this money coming from? Because if you look at grassroots enthusiasm, if you look at the small dollar donors, Trump is ahead by miles, and Ron DeSantis is way down. And looking at these small dollar campaigns should be a warning to DeSantis, because it shows you, yeah, you're getting all this money, you're getting all this support from people who don't like Trump, from all these never Trumpers, from all these neocons. But when you look at the everyday person sending $1 in, $5 in, $20 in, you're not getting that much support. You're not getting that much grassroots enthusiasm. So you can bring in big money. You can outraise Pence and Haley and all of them. But when it comes down to votes, you're going to be exposed, because these guys, yeah, they can give you all this money, but they can only vote once. So he's right. He needs to change his messaging. He needs to figure out a better strategy, or this thing can get worse. He can fall into third place, and a lot of people are projecting that he is going to fall into third place really soon behind Ramaswamy. And what made DeSantis such a viable candidate, seemed like such a viable candidate to begin with? He's 44 years old. He's in his second term as the governor of Florida. He spent a few years in the House of Representatives, U.S. Congress. But what people are starting to forget is this man is a beast. In some way, somehow, this message is getting lost in the murkiness of the campaign season. But as a famous man once said, oh, how quickly they forget. Because let's not forget this man's recent track record. Look at the economic progress of Florida. Look at how he handles those radical leftists who oppose him. Look at how he handles the media, who's just an arm of the Democrat Party. And most importantly, let's look at COVID-19. Let's go back to 2020, when people's civil rights were taken away. When people's freedom of religion, you couldn't even go to church. You own a mom and pop shop. They forced you to close down while Walmart, Target, all these big corporations were open, making more money than they ever made before. Let's look at what happened in Florida. New York City got hit so hard, yet Andrew Cuomo was praised. They said, man, he's a real president. Trump is trash. Look at Andrew Cuomo. Remember, he was having those daily press conferences, coming out there, getting all the praise and adulation, while New York City and New York State as a whole was ravished economically because of piss poor policies, because a virus with a 99.7% survival rate was used as a scare tactic in order for the Democrats to seize enormous power and crush the state. So Ron DeSantis, he did initially close the state of Florida. He shut down Florida like almost every state did. And then once that common sense came back to him immediately, they opened back up. They opened Florida up. They were saying, Ron DeSantis, you're a murderer. You're going to kill people. You're starting super spreader events. And it was a lie. They were doing all this praise for Cuomo. They were dogging DeSantis, talking about how terrible he was. And the reality was, Florida was doing way better against the virus and way better economically. And in the long run, Florida has done way better economically than New York State. This is one of his primary things. Trump actually wanted to open up too. Trump sat there and let Fauci and the left seize all types of power. And then once it got out of Trump's hand, because he's the president, he doesn't have the power to open or close a state. He really couldn't do much. He did constantly try to say, let's open back up, but he was ignored by the radicals. But Ron DeSantis being the governor, he actually had the power to make actual change and affect people's lives. Let's look at the education laws. They had children out of school for over a year. Unnecessarily. Businesses, thousands of businesses gone for good because these radical leftists wanted it this way. And Ron DeSantis has done one of the best jobs of all the governors during that era. He's among the top. And let's shift to another policy, something else he's been doing. He took the Greg Abbott approach to immigration because Joe Biden and these leftists, they want the country to be flooded with these illegal immigrants because these illegal immigrants are going to give them political power. They're going to give these illegal immigrants free stuff and tell them the Republicans are racist, so vote for the Democrats. That's what the Democrats' plan is. So they're not doing anything about border security. They don't care about fentanyl, drugs, crime, anything. Let them keep coming. So Ron DeSantis, just like Greg Abbott, he started taking these illegal immigrants and shipping them up to the Democrats' homelands. He shipped them up to Delaware. He sent them up to Barack Obama's playground where he has his $12 million mansion. He sent them directly to Kamala Harris in D.C. And these leftists were completely exposed. They talked all that crap, said, hey, if you don't like these immigrants, you're racist. The moment these immigrants arrived there, being sent there by Ron DeSantis, these Democrats were exposed. Hypocrisy at the highest levels. This is DeSantis' track record recently. This man is in tune with the culture wars. This man is pushing back against this LGBT elemental P ideology. He's pushing against them trans and children, pushing this ideology in schools. And this message is somehow getting lost in the murkiness of this campaign season. But it really comes down to this. Can he beat Trump? When it's time to go to vote, I think they go to Iowa first, then they go to New Hampshire. Can DeSantis beat Trump? They go to South Carolina third. Nikki Haley's beating him in South Carolina. He's in third right now, but we're months away. So he needs to close the gap in these first couple of states. Can he build a ground game? Because his ground game is real soft. He has very, very weak enthusiasm on the ground. He has all these high money donors, but his ground game is weak. So he got a lot of work to do. But Trump is kind of a weird candidate. If you look historically, oftentimes the person who starts off as the front runner a month and a half out from the election, oftentimes those guys don't even make it. Look at Jeb Bush last time. Everybody's like, yo, yeah, we got Jeb Bush. His father was the president. His brother was the president. So he's next in line. And he was already coordinated before the voting even started. And he didn't even get close to being elected. Trump, he's his early front runner. So we'll see what happens. But Trump is a weird, abnormal candidate because The only person like him has been Grover Cleveland, where you had a former president running from president. We're used to seeing incumbents run, but not a former president. So it's really hard to look at the historical track record to kind of make a solid prediction on how things are going to shift. But if you look at how enthused these people are and how strong Trump's ground game is, it's going to be real tough for DeSantis. He has a mountain to climb if he wants to close that gap to gain some type of true traction. And a lot of the Republicans are pissed. They're pissed at DeSantis, people who love DeSantis. When he was a governor and when he was leading in the cultural wars, when he was being a beast down there in Florida, people were loving him. And the moment he started running, a lot of people were still on his side. But when Trump started to attack him, MAGAville started to attack him. How dare you? Why didn't you kiss the ring? Why don't you wait till 2028? And that's a terrible idea, because there's a graveyard of politicians. Bobby Jindal, Chris Christie, Elizabeth Warren, all these people. They're like, you know what? I got a lot of traction now. My name's in the news now, but you know what? I'm going to wait till the next cycle. They wait till the next cycle. They end up as yesterday's news. That's exactly what will happen to DeSantis. They told Barack Obama in 2008, they said, look, man, it's Hillary Clinton's turn. Wait your turn. Hillary's going to win in 2008. You're going to go in 2016. Terrible idea. So Barack Obama actually ignored that, and he ran anyways. And look, it ended up working out for him. And Hillary Clinton came after him thinking it was going to be her turn. We know how that went. So yeah, we'll see what happens with DeSantis. We'll see how this reboot goes. Is he going to be more efficient? Is he going to increase his ground game? We'll see. I need to see, because we're looking at these nationwide polls, I need to see how these polls move in New Hampshire, how they move in Iowa. And we'll see if he can close that gap a little bit. We'll see if he can stay off Ramaswamy. So yeah, let me know what you think. Leave me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Do you remember that one night when we fell in love? What we had felt so right.